Konnichiwa, hello and welcome. Another vlog with me sitting here in my office at my campus. Today I'm drinking a little bit out of my Avengers cup. Little Dr. Pepper, actually. It is August the 4th, it's Monday. I'm officially on summer vacation now. I just came in to put my final grades into the computer system here in my office. I kind of give my kids a few days after final exams end to come and cry or moan or send me an email and say, please, please, please pass me. Which I did have two of those. I would have passed them anyway. They both had like 59s. So passing here is a 60%. And I would have given them the point. A few kids fail. That happens. A few kids that just sort of never showed up kind of thing. It's college, you know, that happens too. But most of my kids did really well. I'm very happy, and I think they are too. We had a good semester, and I won't actually be teaching the same freshmen in fall. We're going to change teachers because I teach elective classes in the fall. So I lose my freshmen, but I gain my Beatles class, which I'm very excited about. I love teaching that class, and I teach a writing class. And then I also, keep teaching my sophomores, and I also keep teaching kids that are kind of repeating a grade or repeating a class. So I have a pretty full schedule in the fall. School again starts here again in October, basically on October 1st, and so I have pretty much all of August and all of September off. As I've said many times before, the advantage and disadvantage of being a sort of part-time teacher as I am, even though I'm here full-time with my other job, is that I have a lot of free time in the summer, but I don't get paid. So I'm going home to America. I think I mentioned that before. And for about a month, it was weird with the flights this time, booking. If I tried to book 30 days or even 25, 30 days was okay. But like 32 days or 35 days or, sometimes, I have all this time. I take 5 or 6 weeks. But the minute I went over a month in duration, the flight got really a lot more expensive. So it was weird. So I kept it to a month. So I'm only going home for 4 weeks. Okay, well that's some life stuff out of the way. I want to kind of get to the topic. I think I'm going to split this video up into 2 parts. And I want to talk about teaching to the middle, and what that means in Japan, and how that affects you as a teacher, and I think how it affects Japanese kids and their education. And again, this is me coming at this from having taught here now for almost 9 years. And I can't stress enough how much you shouldn't be a brand new ALT or a first year ALT and come in and go, this whole Japanese system is wrong, and this is how they did it in my home country, and why don't you do it like this? And you just can't do that. It's unseemly, it's rude, it's not productive, it's just going to make you more frustrated in your daily job. You really do have to embrace the idea that you're an assistant, especially in junior high and elementary school, and that you have a role that you can fill as a JET, as an ALT, even for Interact as well, but it's not leading the class and lesson planning and deciding the course of the curriculum for your students. That is all way above your pay grade and just out of your purview. And it makes sense. The majority of you who are going over as JETs have no formal teaching experience, have no formal teaching training. All you have is, the fact that you were a student, and a lot of you very recently. High school and junior high school for some JETs is only 5 or so years ago. So there you go. But, the Japanese system is not perfect by any means, and so this is what this 2-part vlog is going to address, hopefully. The fact that, I'm going to talk in this one a little bit more about my experience, and then how I feel like that relates to what I've experienced in Japan as a teacher. So my experience as a student will be this vlog. If you're not really interested in hearing about my life or this kind of slice of anecdotal storytelling that I'm going to do right now, fine. Skip this vlog and wait for the next one, which will be much more about Japan. This is the way I decided to break this one up, so it's not 30 minutes long and just too going back and forth and circling in on itself as it was when I was kind of saying it to myself in my head as I was rehearsing or thinking about it. So now I'm older than a lot of my viewers. I think a lot of you, I'm 45 now. I think a lot of you are in your 20s. Some of you are in your teens and still in high school. And then, some of you are in your 30s and 40s. So my experience in school in America specifically, obviously I have no idea what it's like in Britain or Australia or some of the other countries that I get a fair amount of viewers. Might be different than your experience in American schools. And I'm also, mostly I was brought up in Texas and California, so those are the two school systems that I encountered. But basically, and I don't want this to sound like I'm really bragging, etc., or being boastful, but this is just the fact of the way it was for me when I was growing up. I was a pretty bright kid. Wasn't very athletic necessarily, or I was a Big Bang Theory nerd, I think, but not a genius level, not a Sheldon level by any means. And around the 4th grade, I think, in elementary school, they start to do some testing and they start to figure out, okay, this group of kids are much more, much brighter than the material that they're given in school every day. So what can we do to stimulate them and keep them interested? So in Texas, this involved a program called REACH, and it stands for something. It's an initialism for something. And it basically was, let's pull, the brightest kids out of, say, the 3 homeroom classes, and when all the other kids are taking some other class, they'll come to this special room that they set up with beanbag chairs and Apple IIe computers, the only ones in the whole school, and they'll get to just think of their own projects, stimulate their own brains, read, listen to books on tape. Basically, it was like, we know you're bright, do something to foster your own, brightness. It wasn't a class. We didn't have a book. There wasn't a specific subject. I don't remember a lot of it. I mean, this is a long time ago now for me. This is, gosh, when was I in 4th grade? I don't even know, in the late 70s. So it started with that, and I think that lasted 4th and 5th grade. And then in 6th grade, where some schools now, 6th grade is part of junior high, but in my elementary school, as in Japan, 6th grade is part of elementary school. That's when they really started having you sort of change classes even a little bit. Like, okay, you guys go see Mr. Shoemaker for math, and you guys go see Mrs. Lindley. And if you went to see Mr. Shoemaker, maybe you were doing slightly more difficult math. And if you went to see Mrs. Lindley, you were maybe, on grade level. And then if you went to see, Mr. so-and-so, I don't even remember the name, maybe you were a little remedial. So they started to split you up. And so this started the kind of concept of honors classes and the fact that, it's just a fact. Some kids are better at certain subjects than other kids at different times in their life. I was decent at math for a while, and I could keep up, and then it started to get really harder, and I don't know if it's just my interest waned or my brain just said, no, Jason, we're not going to do that, calculus and trigonometry. But something happened along the way, and I stopped doing honors math and eventually stopped doing honors science. And it was just the language arts that I stayed in honors classes, like honors English and honors history and things like that. But I was in all the honors classes that they offered at the beginning, and it is interesting because you enter junior high school, and your schedule as it is, you might have PE and some California history or something, Texas history or some class that everybody takes, and then it'd be like honors math, honors science, honors English, and so you really are sort of separated right at the beginning from the other kids, and you form your circle of friends perhaps by the kids who you see in one or more of your classes. Of course, that doesn't mean if you're in honors class, that doesn't mean you can't also be on the volleyball team or the football team or be a swimmer or be in the drama club or something else and form friendships that way. But of course, you kind of tend to see these same core group of kids, and most of you will stay in those honors classes 7th, 8th, and 9th grade, as it was when I was going to school. High school was 10, 11, and 12. And then in California, when I came to California and finished high school, my high school was 9, 10, 11, and 12, but I had already passed 9th grade. I moved in the middle of my junior year of high school. So the reason I'm talking about this is the way it relates to Japan, and I think it's just it's a fact of life that some kids are smarter than other kids, or some kids might excel at certain. Maybe you're really good at math, but you can't write an English sentence to save your life, or you're just a voracious reader, but you couldn't tell the periodic table of elements from a Tetris chart or something. You know what I mean? Like, certain people have certain strengths, and I think honors classes are there to help those people. And like I said, a part of it is to accelerate their learning, and part of it is to keep them interested. If you're in a class where you're really bored, you're just going to lose interest, and perhaps your grades are going to go down. So for me, I was also involved in something called academic decathlon when I was a high school student. So I was and on the buzzer team, we called it the buzzer team, where they would ask rapid fire sort of Jeopardy trivia questions, but very much more academic, and geared toward what you were learning in school, and you would hit a buzzer and answer, and then your team would get a bonus question, etc. So I had lots of academic interests when I was in school, and I never felt, that much different than the other kids, other than maybe like I had the good fortune when I was growing up in Texas of just geographic happenstance of my parents moved in. When we moved up from California when I was 7 years old, we moved to a suburb of Dallas near Richardson and Plano, and it was a new, like all the houses were brand new. We were the first people to live in our house. It was upper middle class, I'm not going to lie. My dad had a good job. And across the street, when I moved in, was another family almost just like ours. I had 2 brothers and sisters, and my best friend, who ended up being my best friend, Jack, had 2 sisters, one older, one younger. We were both middle kids, and it was just like families of 5. So Jack was a great guy, and I've reconnected with him on Facebook. We don't talk a lot, but when we were teenagers, we were best friends. And Jack was not super bright. He wasn't, Rocky Balboa dumb either, but he was definitely all around amazing athlete. Football, track, swimming, basketball, anything you could think of. We would go water skiing on the lakes in Texas in the summer. I mean, he was just great at anything physical. And so the girl that lived behind me, that we became friends with too, she was the oldest of her siblings, ended up being a cheerleader. So here I was, like a nerd, very much into Orwell and listening to old Beatle records and things like that when I was a teenager. And I had a Letterman jock across the street who was my best friend from when we were both like 8 years old, and a very cute girl behind me who we were definite friend zone friends, but head of the cheerleaders or whatever. So what happened is I got to mingle with sort of everybody. And as some nerds, and I'll call myself a nerd, are a little bit socially retarded. They can't really function well, outside of now the computer screen or social media or whatever, and they can't talk about anything but comic books or anime or whatever it is. I didn't really have that problem. I was fairly likable, and I bathed regularly and stuff. I was overweight and you know, not particularly physically appealing, I don't think, to girls, but because I was with Jack or with Wendy and some of the cheerleaders and stuff at times, I got to run in those circles and be with the popular kids, and also then go and be with the honors kids, and I was also in drama and on the newspaper staff, and you know, so all these things I think made me sort of, you know, appreciate all sides of the thing. You know, the whole Breakfast Club, you know, this guy is the king of the nerds and this guy is king of the rebels and she's the prom queen and stuff. I got to meet all of those people and kind of see a little bit behind, you know, just the stereotype of who they were in school, and I got to be friends with a lot of them. And unfortunately, in the middle of my junior year, my dad changed jobs, and right, you know, as I probably would have run for president of my class, and I was developing a relationship with a girl I really liked and everything, and they ripped it all away from me, my parents, and moved me to San Diego. Now, San Diego is a beautiful place, and I love San Diego, and the high school I ended up at was a beautiful high school. It's really interesting the way it's very open. It was very different than my school in Dallas, and I ended up making lifelong friends there as well. And I mean, people that literally now when I go home to San Diego I will see, you know, 25 years later here, people that I'm friends with. So, you know, I don't think at any point, the reason I'm telling you all this is I don't think at any point being in honors classes made me an outcast or made me like the brain or the nerd king or whatever it is, you know. And I mean, I wasn't, obviously, like I said, I wasn't the kind of like Sheldon sort of like, you know, just so like wrapped up in learning or science or something that I just couldn't relate to anything else. I mean, I loved playing video games, I loved MTV, I loved, you know, obviously you know about me, I loved going to the movies and things like that just as much as any other kid. You know, I also, if I needed to, I could study and get good grades. So I'm saying all this because in the next part what I want to do is now take all that I've just told you and relate it to the way Japanese kids go through school, okay, and how it, you know, corresponds and doesn't correspond to what I just told you about my journey from 4th grade to graduation. And I've been able to watch a few. I've had private Eikaiwa students who, you know, I started with them when they were like san nensei or so in elementary, all the way through junior high. And I've got a couple now that I do privately, and they're 2 elementary and 1 junior high. And then, of course, as you know, I mean, you saw that I just did that video with Mayuko and Mao. I mean, the kids that I met in junior high, I followed them through high school and now into college, and I kind of see the trajectory the different students take and how it works here in Japan, and it's very different. And when you come here as a teacher, what you're going to find is there are no honors classes, and there is no attempt to stimulate and keep involved students at different levels of ability, and how that affects you as a teacher, not at the university level. Now this is in elementary, junior high, and high school. So the next video, which will probably be about the same, 15 to 20 minutes, I want to talk now and take this that I've just told you and relate it to Japan. Okay, so thank you for looking through or wading through this video. Hopefully you're not like this girl, or is it a boy in my painting look how depressed he's like, oh my god, I just listened to that whole vlog. When will he ever shut up? That's my August 4th Monday painting by Thomas Couture. He was French in the 1800s. So there you go. See, I'm always absorbing knowledge. Thanks, and I'll film the next one probably in the next day or two and put it up, maybe from my house. I'm getting my air conditioner fixed tomorrow, and I'm hoping, well, not fixed, but cleaned and like new filters and washed and everything. I'm really hoping it'll improve the performance and I'll be able to sit comfortably in my home, because this is pretty much my last day here in the office, even though it's got nice aircon. And so I have to now hang out for about 2.5 weeks in my house and get ready to go home to America on like August 22nd. I leave or something. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll let Mike here, Studious Mike from Monsters University, say goodbye, and we'll see you in the next video. Okay, peace.